Welcome back to today's episode. Today is going to be a very special episode. Here on Before the First Cast, we have the legendary Randy Howell Bassmaster winner, 2014 Elite Series Classic. Um, well, Randy, welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming on and talking with us with Before the First Cast. So we're just going to jump right into it. Just tell us a little history about yourself, where fishing for you actually started.
Man, I appreciate you having me on here today. And fishing started for me a long time ago. I grew up in North Carolina on Lake Gaston, in North Carolina, Virginia border, kind of far eastern North Carolina. And my dad was a big fisherman, and he always wanted to fish professionally when he was younger and he was growing up. And in the 70s, that wasn't real doable, real good back then because it was just kind of getting started. So he and my mom ran like a little grocery store, convenience store, grocery store type business for a long time. And little by little worked their way into buying this little fish camp business that was kind of bankrupt, and they kind of built it all back up and turned it into a little mom and pop fish camp marina business on Lake Gaston. Had a tackle store, boat boat slips, little trailer park, campground type place. So I grew up in that business from 11 years old all the way to I got married, and grew up in it and became a fishing guide at 11 years old. Started fishing guiding 11, 12 years old all the way through my high school years. So grew up in fishing, and then big competitor in basketball, and competitor all the way around. So naturally coming into tournament fishing was the progression of being a fisherman, and a guide there. My dad, I fished my first tournament with him when I was like 8 years old, and it kind of lit the fire in me to want to do it more and more. So I just kind of rolled right into that through my high school years, and that's kind of how I got started in
Yeah,
it.
that's awesome. So is the business still around at Lake Gaston?
Yeah, it's called Stonehouse Timber Lodge there now. It's a really nice place. The people that bought it from my mom and dad back in let's see, they had it for like 13 years. I think they sold it probably around I moved to Alabama in 1998, and I think they sold it maybe in 1997 or something like that, 98, somewhere around about the time I moved here. So it's been gone. Somebody else has had it forever, but they fixed it up really nice, and it's a really nice place there now with big full service marina, lots of cabin and house rentals and tackle store, a little bit of everything there.
So what I'm hearing is I need to come to you and I need to fish Lake Gaston.
Well, probably not. I haven't been on it in I haven't been on it in 20. Let's see how many years now. At least probably 20. I don't think I've been on it in about 23 years, 23, 24 years. So
Yeah,
I
because
wouldn't have nothing but old info. It probably wouldn't be good.
yeah, Lake Gaston's not too far from us. Probably about 2 hours maybe from where I'm at. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not that far. But I didn't
Yeah, I
know
heard
you were
it's
that
turned.
local. That was
Yeah, I'm
interesting.
from there originally. Yeah, I grew up. I got it on Gaston and Bugs Island for my first 6 years, and I'm then 7 years, something like that. I moved to Alabama when I was 23. Me and my wife moved here after I won my first major tournament, won an FLW tour event in '98, and that was $100,000 win. That was the first big win I had, and that kind of gave me the money to be able to make the move and come to the central part of the country for travel. I'd already realized after struggling the first 4 or 5 years on the Bassmaster Tour, very young, trying to make a living at it, that driving was a big expensive cost, and driving from eastern North Carolina everywhere in the country, went through Alabama, went through the middle of Alabama about everywhere you went. So I said this is probably the best place to live. So that was one of the reasons we went ahead and moved here pretty early on.
Yeah, so let's get into your professional career. You've been at it for a very long time. So when did your professional career start, and where did it
It's
start?
Yeah, it started right there, right away. I mean, 18 years old, I started right out of high school. Fished my first Bassmaster Invitational while I was still in high school. The Bugs Island, Virginia Invitational, it was called, and I was 17 that year. I was still a senior in high school, and that's kind of my first bass event. Then I signed up for the full season of the invitationals, they were called back when it was boater. No, it was no non-boaters back in the old days. It was all just pros. So it was like 225 or 250 pros, and negotiated on whose boat you were going to use, or you flipped a coin if you couldn't make negotiate whose boat you were going to take. And it was half a day in the front of the boat, half a day in the back, or you fished side by side. You worked all that stuff out, and that was I started that in 1993, I think, 92, 93, and I qualified my first year for the Bass, which is now the Bass Elite 100. 100 people. Back then, it was called the BP Top 100 Trail, and I qualified for that my first year, and got into that group and started that when I was 19, and so I fished. Man, I just turned 51. So this next coming up season will be probably 32 years or so as a professional angler. That's all I've ever done is fish and being in outdoor industry promotions.
Wow, you've been fishing longer than I've been alive.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That's pretty
It's
impressive.
starting to get like that with more and more people too.
Yeah.
The older I get, the more I'm realizing the more younger guys are around, and the history of the sport, unfortunately, is kind of getting lost a lot, because the younger guys, like yourself and younger than you, don't really know much about the history of it anymore. And because it's not much talked about. So, anything that's happened in the last 10 years, people might know about it, but anything before that's kind of getting lost, unfortunately.
Right. So, and I believe, if I'm correct, your life changed pretty significantly in 2014.
Yeah.
Tell our listeners about what happened in 2014 that may not know what happened.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, anybody that watches fishing knows what happened. But it's I won the Bassmaster Classic. That trophy right there over my back is the one that kind of made a huge difference in my career. But I'd been in it, 20 plus years already when I won that. That was my 12th Bassmaster Classic that I qualified for to fish in. So I had a good, stable, solid career, had great sponsors, made a good living already at the time. But the title was something that had eluded me, that has quite a few people, and that's always the title that we all as professional anglers chase and want to win, is that Bassmaster Classic title. And I'd always heard all the years from a kid all the way up that it would change your life, and it was worth so much money for your whole career, and yada yada and all that stuff, but to finally achieve that, and that to happen, I was 40 years old when I won that. 40, yeah, right at 40, 41. And just to see, it really helped me a lot, because I had already probably plateaued at where the highest I could probably be without that title. I was already making a good living, had good sponsors. All the categories were full on all the sponsor categories. So I really didn't have room to like get new sponsors. It just kind of helped me serve the people I had already better. And it took me to a higher level for all of those companies and a few new ones. And it just really made a big difference. And it just opened the door for so many opportunities, the reach, for people, and especially on my platform in the ministry side of the world, for, speaking at churches and wild game dinners and men's events and thing like that. And through my faith side and through the King's Home ministry that I do my boat giveaway for every year. And that whole event, it kind of put them on the map, put us all on the map at a higher level. And that's kind of what that classic title was all about for me.
Yeah. So I want to jump into the classic a little bit. That last day, and I'm sure a ton of people have talked to you about this, but I just can't get it out of my head when I go back and watch it. You were running down the lake. You were going to a totally different area than you ended up in. You ended up in Spring Creek, but you turned your boat completely around. What was
Yeah.
your mindset processing like? Were you like in your head, you arguing with yourself, I should keep going straight, or was something
Yeah.
telling you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely just something telling me. That was the Lord above telling me what that I needed to be doing, because it was the most overwhelming, uh, powerful, voice and vision that I'd ever had in my mind as I was driving driving that Triton 75 miles an hour going up the lake. And I already had my wife and the boys and a camera guy from Livingston Lures. They were all going to be at this Mill Creek Bridge because I had started there the previous day and caught like 20 or 30 in a row really quick. It was really a lot of fish schooled up there first thing in the morning. So I couldn't wait to get there. And then it was just totally a change. I mean, I just felt that Holy Spirit voice kind of in my head say, turn the boat around, go to Spring Creek Bridge now. And I'm like arguing with, I'm already going there. I've already told them I'm going here. I'll go there later. I'll go there next, and I was kind of reasoning it with myself. And, and finally, I heard the same voice said, you want to be good or you want to be great? And I knew I never thought of anything that way. I never said that phrase before. And it just popped in my head. And I saw myself in like a little video it played in my head. And I saw me standing on that bridge catching fish left and right, just one after another. And so I was full of emotion. It was very, very powerful. And I turned the boat and ran there and shut down. And when I got there, nobody was there, which is a miracle for a Sunday morning in February when it was warm. It was like 70 degrees that morning after we had a real big warm front. Nobody was on the bank fishing for crappie or catfish or anything. And so when I pulled up, I caught one first cast, second cast, third cast. Third cast was a 7-pounder. And then my friend riding across the bridge stopped. He saw me and I told him to call my wife and tell her to come to that bridge, bring my boys and everybody there, the camera guy. So they got there, and then little by little, the impact on the bass track and all the following of the tournament, people started stopping on the bridge because there's a major highway right down from the takeoff point. So everybody was riding around looking and saw me fishing there. And before you know it, we had a couple hundred people lined up down the causeway of that bridge on the riprap watching, and it was just amazing, you know, miracle show of fish. I mean, fish and one after another. So it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. How much weight did you have at the end? It was that day you caught at least 20,
That day
29?
was 29 pounds, two
Yeah.
ounces. Yeah. Yeah. And it
That
was,
is that's a sack. Like,
yeah,
that's a,
at the time, that was the biggest bag I've ever caught. It was 29 pounds, 2 ounces by far, biggest bag. So it was pretty amazing. And about midday, I was catching them and culling, and I pretty much hadn't culled. I finally culled like a 4.5 pounder out, and that same voice again came to me again and said, "Go to the back of the creek and go to the back of the creek right now." And I heard that, and I'm like, nah, I can't leave here. I'm catching them. There's no reason to leave here. And I kept trying to reason that out again, but I knew what I heard. It was the same voice, and I felt, the peace. I knew it was God's presence telling me I needed to go there for whatever reason. So I told the camera guy, sit down, let's go back here in the back. And I had about 40, 50 boats following me. And they all couldn't believe I was leaving because I just had caught a big one and culled. And I take off and run back here, actually back here where I live now. I didn't live here then. And I ran up here and it was so muddy. I thought, oh, this was a bad decision. I shouldn't have done it. I need to hurry up and go back to the bridge. Somebody's going to be there, take the spot if I don't get back. And anyway, I felt like I knew I needed to be there. So I stood up, and third or fourth cast, I caught a 6.5 pounder on a bladed jig and culled out a 5.5 pounder and fished a little bit. Nothing else. Went back to the bridge, caught them, and all the way till I went in, but I never culled again. And then, long story short, I ended up winning by 1 pound. So that 1 pound cull that I made when I came back in this creek was what sealed the deal. So it was pretty amazing, special moment. It's probably the biggest fishing miracle that God ever pulled off since the disciples that threw the net on the other side of the boat and caught 153 fish, in the Bible
yeah.
story. So it was like, that's the modern day. That was the modern day Bible story. It was that 2014 Classic.
And you started in 11th at the beginning of the day, right?
Right, 11th place, 9.5 pounds out of first. So I was mathematically kind of written off. I wasn't even in the ball game anymore. I was just happy to be there in the cut, the last day, and happy the King's Home kids. We had a whole 150 of them busted in there from all the homes, the women in the homes, and the girls, boys, all of them. And so they had a front center row right there in the Classic arena. And I was just excited to be there and getting to talk about them, what we do the boat giveaway for kingshome.com and all that. And then lo and behold, it all turned around and came out to win. And it was just a big surprise for everyone. And man, one of the best thing that ever happened in our career for sure.
Yeah, because you beat out the likes of Edward Evers. He was leading going in, which is,
Yeah.
and he had a pretty hefty lead. I do remember. Um,
Yeah, it was definitely a lot. Just to catch the fish I caught that day was a miracle enough. But the other big miracle was that 10 people ahead of me faltered enough to open the door for me to be able to win, and that's unheard of when Evers was leading. And, he's a good closer. And Randall Tharp was a local. He was really good here. And he was right behind him. And that he was one of the favorites to win. And even one of the ones I picked as a win to win the classic was Randall Tharp at the time. So I knew they were all breathing down my neck. I had no thought. I had no idea until it all snuck up on me that I was even going to win. So that was what's so cool about it.
yeah, and I noticed during the weigh-in, as watching it back, you were super emotional.
Yeah.
Where did that emotion come from? Did it just come at once, or was it just kind
Oh
of?
man, yeah, that emotion was all afternoon, man. When I drove from the lake, when I pulled out at the boat ramp, and Davey Hyatt interviewed me and talked about how special a day it was and how it, made a big impact on this tournament. And, and still didn't know to say that I was winning or leading or anything like that, but I knew something special was going on. But I got in the truck to drive. My wife, I said, now that we can look at Bass Track once the tournament's over, today you can look at Bass Track. I said, what does Bass Track show I'm doing today? What was the impact on with my weight? And she said, "You really want to know?" I'm like, "Yeah." She said, "Well, you've been leading since 7:30 this morning." I said, "Are you serious?" I said, "So all day it's showing that I'm leading right now?" She said, "Yeah, that's what it showed when it went off that you're leading." So then the emotion hit me that, wow, this might really happen. It might be this whole miracle, perfect, awesome day could have been straight from God letting me win this classic. And then it ended up being. So that's where the emotion came from. And I'm an emotional person anyway. I'm real passionate about the stuff that I love, about my faith and my family, and the fishing and how it all plays in, and about kids and people at King's Home and that whole storyline. So it was pretty emotional, and it's definitely remembered. It's 10 years later, it's still probably the most memorable classic, I believe, on record. Whether it had have been me or somebody else that did it, I think I would have said it was the greatest classic finish in history. And I'm just glad I got to be me to do it.
Yeah. So after after the classic, you fished a little bit more on the Bass Elites, and then you made a change to MLF. So what was in that decision, or how was that decision made?
Yeah, we had five, let's see, four more years on the Bass Elite side after the Classic. So we had a good run there. And at the time, 2000, I was already fishing Major League Fishing as a specialty. It was kind of a specialty event, and they didn't interfere with the Bassmaster schedule. And they were a lot of fun. They were great for TV, a different audience, a lot of new people watching it. And so it was a good thing at the time. And Bass Pro Shops and Daiwa, two of my biggest sponsors at the time, they were excited about the new tour and the way they were making the changes and the new format and the Every Fish Counts format, having a scoreboard, a live deal, all that. So me and a bunch of 670 other 80 other anglers or whatever decided to make the jump over to the Bass Pro Tour when it started. So it was a lot that went into it. It was sponsors. It was no entry fee at the time, so it was an immediate $50,000 pocket, money that I didn't have to spend on entry fees for Bassmaster the next year. So a lot went into that. It played in a lot of it. And the first year or two, it was really great. We saved a lot of money, made a lot of money. Sponsors were happy, everything went good. And then COVID hit and that whole world changed, and it just really threw a wrench in that whole dynamic of that tour a lot with sponsors, and just a lot of stuff changed. And so they've been, digging out of the hole when it all came back around, and they've had some good years. I still had some good years over there. I didn't do as well over there as I wanted to do. I had some ups and downs. I still made like a couple red crest and like I think maybe nine top tens or so, 8 or 9 top tens. But I never got a win on that Bass Pro Tour, and I'm disappointed that that didn't happen. But I learned a lot on that format. That format is the most intense, hardest format known to man in bass fishing, and nobody will ever understand it if you can't get to do it. And that's what's so hard to make it relatable to the average fishing fan that fishes for 5 fish limit every day. If you've never fished in that no limit format, that every fish counts, it's just hard to explain the pressure and all that goes into it. So the things changing and all that, I've missed the Bassmaster Classic, and I missed the stage for a lot of years, and I've still had a lot of friends over there. Didn't burn any bridges, didn't have any hard feelings with anybody, and as the sponsors and things have shifted and moved around a lot, Bass has really grown and done a good job, and gotten a lot of momentum. The Classic has gotten bigger and better. The Elite Series has gotten bigger and better, and the demand with the Elite EQs on the Bassmaster Opens that my son Laker is fishing, trying to qualify. His dream has always been to get in those elites and be in the Bassmaster Classic. So me and him together have always wanted to be a father and son team on the Bassmaster Tour, like Alton Jr. and Alton Sr. are on the MLF side. So the Bassmaster hasn't had a father son team on their tour like that at a high level since the Hibdons back in the old days that I grew up fishing against. Both the Hibdons, father and son, both won the Classic. So a lot of dreams and aspirations Lakers got about that, and my legacy to want to do that too with him is a big part of the decision wanting to come back. So I'm excited about the future, and I feel like MLF is making a different specialty tour. They're kind of cutting people down and cutting smaller, making smaller field. They went down to 66 people for next year from 80 to 66. Unfortunately, a lot of good anglers are losing their status as a professional angler because they're making cuts in the tour. And that was one of the disappointments that have changed a little bit for everybody that nobody was expecting. It's kind of come about, and it's because of their business model, their sponsors, and everything is changing. So, so they're doing another cut for the next year to be down to 50 people. And so while everything's changing over there, I knew it was a good time for me to go ahead and get back over to the Bassmaster Elite side while it's growing and blowing and doing good, and try to get back in there and get back into Classic. I'd love to have 2 of those Classic trophies on that shelf one day, and get Laker in there with me too. And I think the future will be great.
Yes, and you are coming back on the legendary card or exemption, which a lot of people don't understand what the legendary exemption is. Can you kind of go into a little bit what it is? It doesn't have to be deep into it, just so people understand
Yeah,
what exactly
yeah,
is legendary.
it's pretty simple. It's a part of history. The Classic, the Bassmaster Classic. It's just like um, winning the Masters golf tournament, or winning the U.S. Open in tennis. Every major big title of every sport, typically gives an exemption. Like in golf, it's an exemption to come back as many times as you need to, but in Bassmaster Classic, it was basically just a one free pass to come back if you had a bad year and you fell out, or if you wanted to take a year off and work promotional work and didn't want to fish and didn't come back, or whatever reason you could be sick for a couple of years or have some problems health wise, you could always come back, and that's what that was for. And so they changed it in 2022 because of so many anglers that were coming back freely and taking spots back up, and the other guys on the Elite Series weren't happy about that, so they had to make a tweak in that. So in 22, they said they're only going to allow 2 exemption spots per year, and at the time, Rick Clunn had like 5 exemptions, so you get 1 point for every Classic or Angler of the Year that you win in your lifetime on bass. So Clunn had won 4 Classics and 1 Angler of the Year, so he had 5 slots. So that's how Clunn has gone for so many years and kept fishing in his latter, part into his 70s, which is unbelievable. But having those exemptions is what kept him in. Then Larry Nixon was also in, and Nixon decided to retire last year. So Jordan Lee got that spot. That's how Jordan Lee got back, because he won 2 Classics. So he trumped me and everybody else with 1. So he got in. So my name was on the list, and amongst other guys, and Cliff Pace was on the list there as well. And then it comes down when Clun retired, so that opened a spot that Jordan Lee used at one time, and then he moved up into points. He didn't have to use it again. So one's for him, one for Rick Clun, gave two spots. So I got the first one. Cliff Pace got the next one. Then it comes in number of bass events fished. So that's the next criteria for qualification. So it's all in writing. It's all legit. It ain't no we let you in versus letting you in, or no sponsor funny business. Is straight up in writing. Everybody knows it that I fished 282 bass events in my lifetime because I started so young. So I had way more bass events fished in my life than anybody else. That's why I got the next spot. Cliff Pace was second in bass events fished. So that's why he got the next spot. So that's how it is for right now, and unless they change it again. But right now, it's part of history. I don't, people that may not agree with it, or people that don't understand it, it's just still part of history. It ain't got nothing to do with who the person is or what anything. It's just straight up. You win that title. That's the one perk you get with that title that never goes away until you use it. So I'm glad they have it.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to kind of add up, because there's a lot of misconception in the world, or people just don't understand it and they get all up in arms. So
Yeah.
now people can understand, what it actually is. That leads me into my next question. You see a lot of negativity in the fishing industry today. What are some positive things you see coming, not only in the fishing industry, but from the different tours, the different, just all in general industry? What are some positives you see in yours?
Yeah, that man, I'm telling you, there's so much positive out there, and that's the thing, guys have just got to focus on the positive and kind of get their mind off their eyes off the negative few things that are going on out there. The forward facing sonar stuff has created a lot of negativity amongst anglers and the tours, and unfortunately, everything because of social media is so much more polarized and now and everybody hides behind a computer and throws rocks at each other, and now there's not a lot of happy median or compromise with anything anymore. You either like it like I want it, or I hate you, and vice versa. And it's like that in politics, it's like that in religion, and it's like that in bass fishing, unfortunately. And so that's where a lot of that's come from, is the forward facing sonar controversy stuff. And so I hate to see that, because I try to stay positive. I try to make a positive impact on everybody, because of representing, the Lord Jesus Christ is my faith, and it's what I do it, and it's a platform. So I don't ever want to get into the mud or get into the negative side of it. So I try to always stay positive and focus on what really matters in life. Real life matters. That boat giveaway, we're King's Home, we give that boat away for those kids and women to raise money. Those kids are coming from abandonment, abuse, bad abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse of all times, living in foster care, living homeless. I mean, women in the same situation. And when you focus on real life problems that really matter, you take your eyes off of some of that other stuff that's what I call, first world problem stuff that we're mattering on how I'm going to catch a fish or not, So I think that's something to focus on. And the big thing in there. So in our sport, I get off track real easily on the question, but there's so many young guys coming into our sport right now. That's a positive thing to me. You look at the Bassmaster EQ 9 anglers that just qualified for the next year, and you look at the 9 that qualified last year, and all 9 of them made the Bassmaster Classic in their rookie season. That's unheard of. That's probably never happened before. And now all 9 that are coming in for next year will probably make the Classic too, because that's how good they all are. So the level of talent that's coming up into the sport at a very young age because of college fishing and high school fishing, and then all the access, to videos on, bassmaster.com, all the access to all the pros on like me and all the other pros all over the world, from YouTube to social media everywhere. The learning curve is gone so quickly that now, you're just seeing that talent rise quickly. And now with electronics too, that's bringing the cream of the crop up really quick, kids that are really good with electronics. So I think that's something good to focus on, and just seeing, the sport is alive and well. There's a lot of new people fishing, more fishing licenses being bought than ever before in all the states. And then I think the future of bass fishing and the sport of fishing in general is better than ever. And I feel like that's what we got to focus on.
Yeah, and going back to King's Home, that has a special place in my heart as well. Because I've been on the
Yeah.
front. I've worked as a child protective service worker for
Ah,
5 years here in Virginia.
wow.
I've also lived in the foster care system, lived in a group home as well. So you're
Wow.
and has a special part in my heart, just because I know what goes on. I know it from a personal side, just working with it, and I know from
Yeah.
just my life experience in general. What those kids
Yeah.
go through daily. So keep doing what you're doing at King's Home. I love it. People
That's awesome.
come around you guys and support it heavily. I definitely will support it as well.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah, that's good to hear and to know that you came from that type of background. So you definitely know how important it is, and you know what impact something good's made on your life, because you turned out to do good things and be a good, successful person. But you could have went the other way real easily if you hadn't had the right help with the right home, the right people, the right house parents. Something in that mix is what helped you get on the right path to success. And that's what King's Home was all about, and that's why, you know, everything we can do to help them makes a huge difference. And so it's kingshome.com. Let me get my plug in. Kingshome.com / Randy Howell takes you right to the donate page, but just go on the website anyway, kingshome.com, and click on my name, and you can get right to the boat giveaway. And it's my fully loaded Triton from this year. It's $100,000 or so value. Everything stays on it just like it is, and it's $100 per ticket, tax deductible. Get all the tickets you want right there, safe and secure. All the tickets are printed and cut that day in the computer at the end of the drawing, when we cut it off at 12 noon Central Time on November 16th, that Saturday. And we'll have the live stream drawing at our big kids event that we'll have out there at a fishing event with the kids. And it'll be around 2 o'clock Central Time. We'll draw the winner out on the stage and live stream it on my Facebook, Randy Howell Fishing on Facebook. You can watch it right on your phone and see if you win. If I call you up to win that boat, then you can come to Gunnersville and get it. It'll be a great prize.
Yeah, and we'll help blast it out in our area as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I think that is a very special event. It helps these kids out. It takes a lot to run a group home,
Yeah,
and it takes very special people to work with these kids, because a lot of these kids have seen a lot of trauma that they probably
yeah.
see. So yeah, I just wanted to get that in there so our listeners know, and our viewers know what's going on November 19th.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely go support King's Home. So switching gears a little bit, it's fall time. It's really fall time here in Central Virginia, and I know you got
Mm-hmm.
down there as well to the transition part. Um, so I asked you to bring a few special baits for that you like to fish in the fall. Do we want to jump into those baits?
Yeah, I got them right here. Quite a few different things. So I live at Gunnersville. I haven't been home to fish lately, but today we're actually having the first cool front. That's really cool. It's going to be in the 60s the next couple of days. It's supposed to get in the mid 30s at night, and so that's going to start making the activity, the shad already been moving up. And the last time or two that I did go out, and Laker, my son Laker Howell, he's a guide here. So if you need a guide trip, anybody listening wants to hook up with Laker, get on a guide trip, look up Laker Howell Fishing.com or on his social media, and he can get you hooked up with a guide trip. But Livingston Topwater Baits, I'm a Livingston guy for everything, man. We got every bait known to man now we make, and and everything that's unique about them is having the sound chip. It's the only bait that has the patented sound technology in it. So every bait has a battery and a lithium battery and a chip in there that has 400 or 500 hours of wet life. It only works when it's in the water and it's wet. So most time that lasts, several seasons for an average fishing person. the sound wise. And but this is a bone colored walking boss, and this is a bone colored walking boss junior. One's smaller, one's bigger. I keep them both tied on, straight braid, 70-pound Iowa Samurai braid, and I throw them on my 7.4 Tatula Elite Randy Howell Signature Series rod, a big top water rod with an 8.1 fast retrieve Tatula reel. Long cast, walk these baits, slosh them, and make a lot of noise around bait fish balls and grass edges and flats. And this is what I love to throw top water a lot. And even in the middle of the day in the bright sunshine, top water continues to produce fish and bigger fish than average on most of the lakes in the southeast in the fall. And so hot water, first of all. Next, one of the baits you'll see, a lot of people throwing is a lipless bait. And this, like a rattle trap lipless type bait, we call it. This is the Livingston Pro Ripper. They have a 1/2 and a 3/4 ounce size. But this one right here, you see right on it's called a Pro Ripper 38. So it's a 3/8 ounce, but it's the body size of a 1/4 ounce. So it's heavy still. You can throw it a long ways and rip it. It stands up on its nose every time you stop it. So you can kind of worm it slow, and it has a little rattle in it, but it also has the bait fish chirping sound in it. So it's natural. It don't have the unnatural sound of rattles. It's got a natural sound of a recording of the bait fish, the sound that they make when they're being chased by a predator. So that lipless bait, jerk bait, they make a couple different sizes. The 121 is the most popular size, but this is the Jerk Master Junior right here. And you see it's a 2-hook, 2 treble jerk bait. Has a wide lip, so it darts side to side really good. You can cast it a long ways. You can see in here, there's the battery and chip inside, so that gives a little more weight. It's got a weight transfer system that helps you cast it. But I like jerk baits that suspend, and these jerk baits sink real slow, so real slow fall. So when the forward-facing sonar, I use Lorax active target, and I see the fish out there around bait balls, I can throw this jerk bait, rip it down, and watch the fish chase it and get it, and tease them into biting it a lot of times. That's what we can do now because of the active target. But the smaller jerk bait works better for me than the bigger one in the fall, because most of the bait fish are real small bait fish. So the Jerk Master Junior, that's a pro blue color. I like that color in clear water. If you start to get more stain, and I like something more with a pearl or little chartreuse or pearl or French pearl type color. And then the square bill, I probably catch more on this bait right here than anything else, believe it or not. This square bill is called the Howler. It's my Howler body that I won the Classic on. It's just that body. We made a big circuit board lip, and you see how wide that lip is, and the corners, how it rolls out both sides. So that creates a really hard, aggressive side-to-side wobble. So if you've ever used an old school bait like a baby 1- or a 1-, that bait has that real wide, has about a foot, 1 foot side to side motion when that bait's going like that. But a baby 1- has a tiny lip and only runs a foot or less. This bait has just a little bit more angle to the lip, and it'll run 3 feet. Sometimes it might get down to 4, but mostly that 2 to 3 foot range with a real aggressive wobble. And you can cast it a mile, and you can burn it. I'll even throw it on an 8.1 Tatula reel, so I can reel it fast and run it over top of grass, run it through the middle of balls of shad that are up shallow, flickering in those pockets and sandbars and stuff. That bait catch a lot of fish. That particular color is called Beauty Shad. I like that color. It's kind of a natural with that little bit of chartreuse line on it and that kind of blue looking pearl look to it. That bait catches them really good just about anywhere I go. I can't wait to take that bait to the live. We got an MLF live stream team event coming up October 25th through the 30th. So be watching for that. It'll be live streamed on Major League Fishing. It'll be my last Major League Fishing event ever. So I'm looking forward to trying to win the last one and get that trophy. But Nick LeBrun, who's one of the hottest ones on the tour right now from Louisiana, Nick LeBrun's going to be my team partner. So it'll be fun. But I guarantee you'll see me throwing that wherever we are, because that's going to catch them right there. So that's my 4 hard baits. And then to throw a soft bait in there. This is a Cinco. This is a 5-inch Yamamoto Cinco. This color is called Pro Blue. This is kind of a new color that came out a few years ago, but I use this color a lot in the fall, wacky style or Texas rig. But I skip docks with this a lot in clear water, but also I throw this in the areas when you're catching them on the lipless bait and the top water bait, and they're breaking and they're hard to make bite, and you catch several, then they quit biting, then they go back down. You can pick this bait up on a wacky. I throw it on a Pro X wacky hook, throw it out in the middle of the bait balls, and just let it sink, fall, and don't do anything with it. Just wiggle it every once in a while, let it go to the bottom, and just kind of dead stick it around, and you'll catch a lot of fish that are feeding on shad, that the shad, get, fluttering down, they die and they fall when they chopping them up in those bait balls, and they'll eat that bait as a cleanup bait right there, the Pro Blue 5-inch Cinco. So that's my mouthful in a hurry right there of all the baits that I like, but that's what I catch a lot on. And fall fishing can be good when you got the right stuff.
Yeah, you probably put me on to the lippy lures. I wasn't I didn't know about the microchips and stuff like that, or the sound bites in them. You might have put me.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't know about them, still amazes me how many people are in the fishing business and don't know what that bait is yet. The bait's been around for 10 really good years since I won the Classic. That's when they kind of got on the map. Once I won the Classic on the crankbait, we named it the Howler. But they're doing well. They just are a small company. They don't advertise or spend any money on advertising. They just kind of grow organically amongst fishing people everywhere, and they're really big into walleye, muskie, northern business, and they're big in other countries. They're really, really popular in Europe and Japan and overseas. But you got so many baits in the market over here in the U.S. and so many jaded fishermen that have seen so many gimmicks in the U.S. All the crazy stuff that we've been exposed to over the years. People a lot of times hear that it's an electronic bait that has electronics in it, and they don't take it seriously. But we've made every bait, like I said, every kind of bait that I've ever used, from top water to bottom, everything, we've made a perfect bait, and then enhanced it with that sound chip and that sound, and it's a natural recording of the bait fish and crawfish or whatever the color is. It's got the sound to match the color of whatever that crawfish or bait fish is. So really cool bait, unique, cost about the same as about every other bait now. It used to be more expensive, but all the other baits have gone up in price and they've stayed about the same. So they're all about equal now, and you can't beat having that little extra enhancement to help get more bites.
Oh, definitely. Well, Randy, I appreciate you today. At the end of my show, I love to ask if there's anyone you would like to thank company wise or just in general. You can do it right now.
Yeah, we got a lot of people to thank, man. I'm been really blessed to have a good career with a lot of good companies I've been with a long time. This shirt right here, the Daiwa logo, I've been with Daiwa for nearly 20 years and got a lot of good rods and signature rods with them. Great company, great products. I love those guys, and been with Livingston Lures for now as long as they've been around, probably 12 years. And they've been really great to work with and like family. All my sponsors are like family. I don't have any corporate people that I don't really have a relationship with. And that's what I tell my son and all the young guys coming up. Don't seek sponsors that are too corporate to understand who you are and have a care for who you are as a person, and vice versa, you for them. You got to have a relationship with people in order to work well together. And everybody I work for is like that. My Bass Pro and Triton Boat Group, I've been with Triton for my whole career, 26 years, and Johnny Morris owns Triton. Bass Pro, got a good relationship with them, and been great to work with them. And man, I guess got so many other ones. Yolotech that makes the camera Power Stick 53 to record all our catches in the back of the boat. Christian Corley, great guy, and man, just Mercury, been with Mercury forever. Benton Nissan, my Nissan dealer here in Alabama, been with him for about 15 years. And I think everybody that I work for the most part for 15 or 20 years or more. And yes, don't want to leave anybody out. But Yamamoto, same way. The new people at GSM on Yamamoto, they're doing great things and working good together with them. And I'm probably going to leave a lot of people out, but y'all just check out randyhowell.com. You can see all the sponsors on there that I've got on my jersey back here. You can see that. And but just thankful for everybody that gives us the opportunity to partner with us and help us make good things happen in fishing.
Well, Randy, I definitely appreciate it. Good luck on the upcoming Bassmaster series or Elite series. I can't wait to watch you on TV and hopefully get to an event at some point. But again,
Yeah.
that you taking time out of your day to come speak with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Now, y'all be sure to check out that event coming up October 25th through the 30th. It'll be live stream on Major League Fishing, and that'll be my last hurrah with them. And hopefully, we'll have a good one there. It'll be a fun event to watch because no fishing will be on right now. And then go on kingshome.com and get you some boat tickets before November 16th. Check out at Randy Howell Fishing on Facebook, Instagram. And I'll have more info and videos. Follow us on there for more and make a difference in the child's life and kids and women's lives by donating to that. And thanks again for having me, man. Good luck to all you guys and girls. Hope y'all catch some bass this fall. Hope these tips I showed you today will help you with get the right baits. And we'll see you guys on the water next time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. God bless.